What's the difference in the football team between the team that went 9-1 a year ago and the one that's 3-7 going into this?
You know, I don't know. I don't know if it's fair for me to comment. I don't know that I would know that. I see some different folks and a different age group of guys out there running around. You know, I don't think they probably have the experience. I think they only had 3 or 4 starters back on offense and defense both, Jim. I think so. They're you know, they're a relatively young group as well. But again, I would probably be a little out of line if I was to sit and comment on their team. Again, as you look at the 2 deep from a year ago to this year ago, there's a lot of new bodies, and I think they, coming into the season, had about 4 or 5 starters maybe at the most on both sides. Gone through a couple quarterbacks. I think Nick was starting early on. They've got a freshman, a redshirt freshman in there now playing. But the tailback he's something.
Talk a little bit about his style, what it will take to contain him enough to.
Well, you know, he's a thick back. He runs it up in there. They run power. They run what we run. They run the power and the boots off of it. But he can run inside the tackles, and then he can take it the distance. You know, I mean, he can take the football and go 95 yards. He's fast like the kid from Southern Illinois, and then he runs it up in there. Probably a little more power and those kind of things than those guys did at Southern. But very talented guy. Very talented. I would guess a pro prospect without question. I think he's leading FCS, right, in all of rushing. I think all the games we broke down, I went down through, I think he's the least number of yards he's had in our league, I think, is 115 maybe. So, he's pretty good.
Does their defensive style or the personnel, the way they use them, remind you of anybody you've faced?
Well, they're a split team. They're a lot like the teams that we play. I mean, a lot of the teams split front, play pretty solid up front. Not a ton of blitzing. I would guess a little bit like Illinois State, and would not be, I would not compare them to Western Illinois and Southern, was blitzing almost every single snap. Probably a little more like South Dakota State, and line up, and a little more Northern Iowa, those kind of guys.
Do we match up with them pretty good? I mean, they're running team.
Yeah, I think so. Run. Yeah, we have at times. It's interesting. We have at times, and same thing. We have it at times. We're going to have to match up and get them stopped. I mean, that's the reality. And you're not, again, you're not going to completely stop the guy. We've got to get him tackled and run to the football. The other part of that is that big passes come off of that, Pete. They hit the ball. We're just finishing up watching a little bit of Illinois State, and they throw a 95-yard pass off of a play action. I mean, just a real basic fundamental, run it up in there, and the safeties got caught, and that ball went 95 yards for a touchdown. So, and it was on the -5. And so, you just have to be really good in the back end too, because it's run, touchdown, deep ball, and everybody's cheating to get everybody down in there to stop the runs, and next thing you know, it's going over your head. And that's what you see on film. So you're going to have to be sound, and our guys in the back end are going to have their eyes in the right place. We're going to have to play great defense.
Ben's out, John? No wicket?
He is, yep. He's out, and what a play he made on film, and the effort, and you can see where he gets hurt and still fighting for the ball, and just a tremendous effort by a senior. And he'll travel with us. We'll absolutely travel with him, but he's out for the game.
Anybody else besides the ones in the past?
Well, we had a handful of guys that are banged up. It's too early. Monday's too early to tell. I mean, we had some guys last week that didn't practice till Tuesday or so, Wednesday even, and this time of year, you hope to get them back through Thursday. If they can go on Thursday, they can play on Saturday. So we'll have some guys that are banged up. Just trying to think who else. John Sasson, probably, who sat out in the last game, probably will not. Josh, who's still suffering from the car accident that he had here that Friday night, is still out. Those guys, I don't think that, we had hoped that maybe they would get back, but I don't know that they will. DJ may make a return from the shoulder injury, but everybody else that was played in the game is sore and bruised and playing in their 11th game. So I think we'll be relatively healthy.
Coach, I asked this a couple weeks ago, and it was probably pretty premature 3 weeks ago or whatever it was, but given the roller coaster of what the season has been and the ups and the downs, what do you think this team has learned? What's the lesson that can be learned from this season? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I don't know that I've gotten to lessons yet, other than you just keep playing. I think the realities of it are I think it is a team game. You have to be good in every aspect, every play, every game, all the time. Kicking game, offense, defense. specific lesson. I don't know that I'm ready to go there yet. I just don't. Again, it's still a little premature. We're still trying to win a football game here. But your question's fair. I don't. I just think sitting here today, I mean, you have to be really, really, really good. I mean, you have to be really good, and you have to play really, really good all the time. And I think that's the one thing that I know, and I think everybody understands that and knows that. But again, a play here or a play there that is, and again, I still remember, and I think I've said this before here, but Don Patterson a couple years ago at the press conference said, hey, I really thought going in we had a good team, and a good team isn't enough in this conference. Good teams are not enough. You have to have a great team. And, I thought that was interesting coming from a veteran coach, and I think he's pretty right. This conference doesn't allow you to have a bad day, a bad play, or a bad game. And that would be probably a little bit of a lesson. It's just, and again, I don't know if it's a lesson. I just think it's football. And, but I don't know. I guess that's all further I can go with it. I understand.
John, you talked about what the final game of the season might mean to the players. What does the final game of the 2009 season mean to you as the head coach?
The same. Make sure that just like the first game did, Jim, I coach every game the same. I know there's a lot of things. I'm not dumb. I mean, I know everything is floating around, but this game is still about our players. I just refuse to not give them every ounce of energy I've got to allow them to play this game to the best they can. That's all I know. A lot of that I was taught here. So I'm not going to my whole emphasis is to coach this football team, study, do game plans, wake up at 3:30, 4 in the morning like I always have. It doesn't change. And so what does it mean to me? It means that we're playing our last game on the road, and we've got to do everything as a coach. My job as the head coach is to get everybody organized and ready to go play the best game we can play, and then hope you play that. And if we do, we'll have a chance to win. If we don't, we won't. And but I'm not. It's not any different for me, man, than the first game of the year or anything else. I don't coach that way. I just refuse. Never will. My grind is for these guys, and because they've done the same.